Hello and welcome back to Tabletop TV. My name is Alex, and in today's video we're going to talk about 3D printed models. Some of you may have noticed that a lot of our models are now coming in this new material, and with Carnevale now also on MyMiniFactory, we figured it'd be worth going over a quick video talking about how to work with 3D printed models as a material, because the cleanup process is slightly different to a cast resin or a plastic kit. For this video, I'm going to be building the Scions of Dagon, a brand new Richard complete gang for Carnevale that are available either directly from TTCombat or via the MyMiniFactory tribe. Either way, you'll be ending up with 3D printed models, so I figured they'd be a good example. Let's get started. So for this video, I'll be building the new Scions of Dagon gang for Carnevale. In it, we've got Sir Tiburcio, the drowned knight, who comes in 4 parts. We've got a Dagonite page with a separate arm, an encrusted squire made up of his body and his massive claymore, a hybrid with 2 separate arms, and the massive tainted Moor with a separate tailpiece. To build a 3D printed model, you're obviously going to need a knife. You may need sanding sticks. I don't actually use them in this video at all. You'll need a pair of clippers to get off some of the remaining supports, and you'll need some super glue. So I'm going to start with the Dagonite page, and cleaning up a printed model is a little bit different to cleaning up a plastic or a resin model. What you're going to want to do is just basically look at it, work your way around the piece, looking at it from every angle, and what you're mainly looking for are leftover supports. So you can see here on his left hand, there's that little bit of resin in between his thumb and his hand, and that's one of the supports used in the printing process to make sure it comes out correctly. We do remove most of these supports before sending you the model, but there may be some left over, particularly like here, and all you need to do is just get your clippers or your knife and clip it off. And you'll find the actual connection points are very, very thin, so you don't need any real pressure at all, so it should come off very easily. And there's then another one on his filthy tabard here, just between those 2 little bits of tattered fabric. So once again, just get my clippers and clip them off, and you'll see I clip next to one end of the support, then rotate my clippers and clip the other end as well. The other thing you might find are little nubs or scars like this on the back of his leg, which is where a support has been removed, but it's left just a little bit of excess resin on the model. Very simply, just find it and clip it off, and then get your knife, and then just scrape it smooth. You'll see I'm carving away the last remains of that little nub, and when I'm done, it'll be nice and flat. And then check over the other pieces as well, so I'm just checking his arm here too. You won't find mould lines like you do on a plastic kit, so you really are just looking for supports and nubs. And then glue it together, so you'll need super glue here. Plastic glue won't work. You just put a little bit of glue on the point where the pieces connect, and then just press the pieces together. You'll find with monopose kits like this, they really only go together one way, so if the arm doesn't socket into place properly, you've probably got it at the wrong angle. So just maybe dry fit it first, or move it around before the glue sets, and eventually you'll feel it go together properly, like so. And that's it. You can now glue it onto the base. I've got some of our ruined cobblestone bases here, so I'm going to put a bit more super glue on the bottom of his foot, and a bit on his peg leg as well. And then just press him gently but firmly onto the base. You'll find with fast acting super glue like ours, it'll basically set within a few seconds. And yeah, done. You don't need to clean these models. Unlike cast resin, there's no mold release agent needed because there's no mold, so that model is now literally ready for priming. Moving on to Sir Tiburcio, the drowned knight himself, and I'm doing the exact same thing. So again, looking at it from all the angles, you can see there's that little support just under his chin there. So I'm just going to get my clippers, clip it out, and pushing the flat of the clippers toward the flat surface. So here I'm pushing the flat part up against his chin, then I'll rotate the clippers and push the flat part down against his chest to clip off the other end. And then grab my knife and just carve out that remaining little nub, being careful not to carve up any actual detail here, and then scraping the edge of it against his chin. And checking over the rest of the model, you really will find there aren't that many of these little supports left. There may be a couple in hard to reach areas, but generally speaking we do get most of them. Here I'm just scraping his foot smooth, so I did feel there with my finger that there was a little bit of texture, maybe again another support scar, so I'm just going to scrape it flat. So it'll adhere to the base nicely. And here on his tattered cloak thing, you can see there are quite a few supports. It's very simple, just basically again, cut them out with a knife or a clipper, whatever works best. You'll probably go back and forth between the two tools. You could sand these areas smooth if you wanted to. I do have my sanding sticks here, but I don't actually use them at all in this project. Just remember, if you do any sanding or any drilling, anything that generates dust basically, do so in a well-ventilated room, and then make sure you vacuum that dust up when you're done. And checking over his arm, there's actually nothing here that needs removing at all. No supports, no scars. And then the anchor, in this case, there's a single support scar just on the bottom of it. Then assembly, same thing again. With his arm, I did dry fit this here just to make sure again it goes together properly. You'll find some pieces have got these male to female connectors. They will only go together in one way. And then put a bit of glue in, press it together. 5-10 seconds is usually enough for most pieces. And that's another model ready for priming. On the encrusted squire, we've again got a little support there in between his fingertips, so I just want to basically carefully remove it. The clippers probably would have been a better tool here than the knife, but you can't really go wrong. You just want to avoid actually cutting his fingers off, so do pay attention that what you're removing is definitely a support and not part of the actual model. And then we've got some dentistry to do. You will find sometimes that where supports are left behind are in, again, these hard to reach areas like here, inside his mouth, or attaching his top and lower jaw. It's not that difficult to remove actually, so I'm just going to again get my clippers and just very gently snip at the top, at the point between the support and his upper jaw. Rotate the clippers so the flat part is now facing down, and do the same at the other end of the support where it connects to the lower jaw. And then there we go. That's that support now removed. It's actually fallen into his mouth, so I'll just fish it out with my knife blade. And then just glue his second and third arms on. Godbrush arm models are weird. Glue his extra arms on and his sword. Stick him on a base. That's model 3 down. Onto the hybrid. You should know how this goes by now, so I'm going to look at each piece from every angle, just checking for any scars, any leftover supports. We've got a very minor one there between his ear and his collar, which I'll just gently sever and then tease out with the knife blade. And you can see him then just sticking his arms on. This part here with the anchor is a little bit fiddly. It is two very small connections because it attaches both with the chain and at the wrist. But again, super glue cures incredibly quickly, so once it's in position I just hold it there carefully. And then what I actually do here, because it's going to take a little bit of time to fully set, is I'll just turn the model upside down, prop it up somewhere, so gravity is helping me hold that anchor in the right position. And then onto the Tainted Moor, my favourite model in the box, to be honest. Same thing again, I'm looking for any scars, any supports left over, but because resin is slightly translucent, sometimes the actual scars can be a bit hard to see before you put paint on. So the other thing I'm doing is just running my finger over areas that I know should be smooth, and just feeling for any rough texture. So I get actually a bit here on the connection point of the tail, where I can't quite see it, but I can feel a little bit of texture there. I'm just going to scrape that smooth with my knife blade so the pieces adhere properly. I'm checking over all of the fins. That's the sort of area you're quite likely to find these small leftover supports. Then a bit of glue, press the parts together, and you can see that seam all but disappears immediately. The way these models go together is really quite impressive. We've done quite a good job of hiding the seams. Of course you can gap fill them with green stuff, milliput or anything else like that if you want to, or you can leave it as is. But there we go, that's the Tainted Moor built. I'm now going to go back and glue the hybrid onto his base. Now I'm happy that that anchor has fully cured. And then glue the Tainted Moor onto his 50mm base. And I'll do a bit of fiddling here, try to figure out what the best angle is. I'm going to want to do some water effects in those puddles and cracks, so I want them to be accessible. So I mess around for a bit with the two bases I have, trying to find the golden angle and the right base for him. And put some glue on the areas that connect with the base. So basically the underside of his tail, a few parts of his fins as well. Push him down firmly but gently onto the base. And yeah, there we go. All done. And there you have it, a 3D printed Richard gang assembled and ready for paint. As you hopefully saw, these models are really easy to clean up. The vast majority of supports will be removed before the models are sent out to you, so it really is just a case of looking for any remaining very small supports and then cleaning up any of the little nubs or scars. As I said, you don't need to clean the models in the same way you would with a cast resin model. There's no mold release agent to wash off because, well, there's no mold, so you can skip that step. Unlike a plastic kit, there are no mold lines to remove because, again, no mold. And you'll often find as well, printed models will come in far fewer parts than a plastic kit will. The World's Fair After Party, most of those models are 5, 6, if not more parts each, whereas here they're 1 to 3, pretty much. Of course, once the model is primed, it will paint like any other model. We will have some painting videos coming up soon of this new Richard gang. In terms of looking after the model long term, the printed resin is actually quite flexible. It's not as flexible as plastic, but if you drop it, it's not going to shatter like older 3D printed models would from previous generations. It'll snap, so gluing it back together is dead easy. So yeah, to recap, main things to bear in mind: you need super glue rather than plastic glue because it's not plastic, obviously. You just want to make sure you remove any remaining supports and clean up those contact points. And lastly, health and safety thing, if you are going to do any sanding or drilling that will basically turn the resin into dust, just make sure to do so in a well-ventilated room. Maybe even consider a respirator if you're doing a lot of it. And yeah, vacuum up that dust when you're done. You don't want that lying around. But other than that, once the models are built, again, painting them is exactly the same as painting any other model, which we'll have coming soon. So that's it. If you've got any questions about working with printed resin, let me know in the comments. I've done quite a bit of this. If you've got any tips yourself for working with material, feel free to share them as well with other hobbyists. While you're there, make sure to like the video so it reaches more people. Subscribe so you don't miss those upcoming painting videos as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. More is coming soon. Goodbye.